Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh, Shemi Ashai, Bashem, Rakakudah, Shalom to the 144,000 rest of the elect out there, Shalom to you all. Make this super quick. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this video World War III. He causes a series of proxy wars to take place. So let me just go ahead and play this. Not going to give you any commentary or nothing like that. So here we go, fair use. So this, or if you look up the word proxy war, it's if you have a war between two nations and another nation gets involved because they might have got hit with a stray missile. So you got three nations involved. Then you have other nations that are allies to that nation, and therefore that slowly becomes a world war. World War I and World War II were nothing but a series of proxy wars. They had two alliances. Anyway, Axis powers, all that. You got to go all into all of that. Anyway, let's go ahead and play it. Then I'm going to close.
Convicted. And that's the case that the Iranians are making right now. And they're doing that also by punishing the Arab nations that promoted an American presence in the Middle East. They're targeting the United Arab Emirates. They're targeting Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain. These are punishing blows, and now they've taken it to the next level, something that they've never ever done before. They've shut the Strait of Hormuz.
This is Iran doing that. They cannot get, as I said before, they cannot get to the U.S. They cannot hit U.S. soil because they don't possess long-range missiles or ICBM missiles. But what they can do is hit the U.S. the America's interests, the allies that they deal with. So one of the allies of America is Saudi Arabia, and Iran is hitting that too.
And they're starting to target energy production facilities, and they've put the Saudis and the Emiratis, and I'll notice that it's not just fields, and it's not just blocking the Strait of Hormuz. They're now going to target the pipelines. There will be no.
That's the gas prices are going to go up if they blow up these pipelines. That's it. That's it. The gas is going to go up sky high. Don't be surprised if you're paying $20 a gallon for gas. And if you can get gas, they might go out back to rationing gas. You can only get gas on alternate days. They did that back in the gas crisis in '73. I remember that.
No energy flowing out of this region, and this will destroy the global economy.
Nero done fucked up. He done fucked up. This is one step closer to what? World War III.
Economy, and put political pressure on the United States and Israel to bring this conflict to an end.
Couldn't this backfire on Iran as well? There's talks now about Saudi joining the war. So if you have Gulf...
Oh, hell no. Because Russia and China is backing up Iran. It's not going to backfire on Iran. It's going to backfire on Nero.
Nations turning on Iran and militarily starting to get involved. You've got France sending an aircraft carrier to the region. You've got the UK sending fighter jets to Cyprus.
France is going to wind up shooting missiles on America.
So couldn't Iran's strategy, which I think is, from a strategic perspective, it makes sense, pressuring the Gulf countries to then pressure Trump, choking off the energy, but couldn't that also backfire?
What these people don't understand is this is the fulfillment of prophecy. Ezekiel chapter 38, Ezekiel chapter 39, and all the other prophecies dealing with, most of the prophecies that you read is dealing with this last prophecy that all the major prophets saw. Isaiah, Jeremiah, you name it. Malachi 4, Joel 2, Joel 3.
Of these countries that were not initially involved in the war become directly involved.
They were always involved in the war, Mario. to pretend that Saudi Arabia was not involved is to ignore the fact that the Saudi government was encouraging Donald Trump to carry out this action. And they were saying, if you're going to do this, kill the regime. Saudi.
That's Arab hate. Arabs hating other Arabs. Saudis hating on Iran.
Bases have been used to provide a haven for Americans, etc. And what are the Saudis going to do? With all due respect to the Saudis, they couldn't beat the Houthi. Since 2014, the vaunted Saudi military has been beaten the crap out of by the Houthi. And so what? Now they're going to frighten Iran by saying what? They're going to send their aircraft in to bomb places? Is Saudi intelligence that much better than American intelligence and Israeli intelligence? Do they hold the magic key to breaking the will of the Iranian people? No, this is a pathetic gesture that'll backfire on the Saudis, because Saudi Arabia may be able to send a couple F-15 in to drop bombs on targets they know nothing about. Iran will destroy Saudi Arabia. Destroy Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, bring it on, Saudi Arabia. I mean, don't be stupid. This is just a face-saving gesture on the part of a Saudi regime that recognizes they're on the wrong side of history. They made a fatal mistake in believing that the United States could provide a security shield against Iran, especially when the United States is working hand in glove with Israel. Marco Rubio has all but admitted Israel caused this war. This is a war about Israel, for Israel. And now Saudi Arabia is going to jump.
About Israel, for Israel, meaning this is the tail wagging the dog. The tail is Nettie and the dog is Nero. And Nero doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He got his ass into something that he can't. He got into something that he can't get his ass out.
Been on this? Do you understand what that does to the legitimacy of the Saudi?
He's writing checks he can't cash. Them checks are going to bounce. Those proverbial checks are going to bounce. All the prophecies. You know, we go into these prophecies and we understand that GMS, we understand the prophecies so well that we understand that all these prophetic end time prophecies is the same event but in different scenarios. Daniel 2, the king of Babylon had that vision. Daniel 7, Daniel had a different vision. It was the same thing. The difference was one was a statue and the other was a series of animals. It's the same event. Balaam, the Midianite, he saw the end. The Most High showed this heathen the end when Israel attacks the other nations. Micah 5 and 7. That's a prophecy. So all these prophets, when it comes to end time, it's the same. You got scholars that say, well, this means this war, and that means the Spanish-American War, and that means the Civil. No. Those major prophecies is talking about right now. When it speaks about arrows, the bow of steel shall strike them through. Joel 2, the first couple of verses, first 5 verses, when it speaks about the soldiers, what Joel saw was actual missiles in a formation, military formation. These people don't know, man. We are the people. You scholars got to come to us now. You got to come to us, and guarantee you they watching us. Trust me. Trust me, these Christians are watching all our videos, especially the professor. They don't understand. When has vocab ever challenged us on prophecies? He's clueless when it comes to the prophecies. They don't teach you about end time prophecies in a theological seminary or cemetery.
Saudi government, in the eyes of the Saudi people, if you want to foment popular uprising to remove the Saud family from power, side with Israel openly, and that's what they're doing. So no, this will not backfire on Iran. This actually plays into Iran's hands.
The issue, though, is that no one is siding with Iran. China just said they're not helping Iran militarily. There's been talks about China sharing intelligence with Iran, which I still think is the case. Russia is not in a place to be able to send weaponry to Iran right now. So Iran is, militarily speaking, they're doing a pretty good job. They're fighting a multi-front war. They're striking Gulf nations, striking Israel, striking American bases, struck Cyprus as well. They're targeting the carrier strike groups as well. But there's no one supporting them, and if anything, the sentiment in those countries is turning against Iran because they're getting dragged into it.
That's just not true.
How long can Iran though sustain this?
That's not true. That's not true. First of all, Iran isn't looking for nations to support it.
Goddamn commercial.
Looking for the best nutritional supplements Science can offer? Look no further than LifeXtension.com.
Iran is a cause today, an anti-American, anti-imperialist, anti-American hegemony cause. And ask the people that are in the streets of Bahrain right now, rising up against the Khalifa family, what side they're on. Ask the Shia today that are simmering in the eastern provinces of Saudi Arabia, what side they're on. Ask the people in the street of almost every Gulf Arab nation what side they're on. They're not on the side of Israel. They're not on the side of Israel.
You've got Pakistan, you've got Iraq as well, Scott. People rose up and attacked the embassies.
Pakistan, India, they possess long-range missiles, so they're going to get into the fray.
Well, Iran doesn't need governments that have long since been corrupted by the United States and Israel. I mean, any signatory to the Abrams Accord is a fundamentally corrupt government in the eyes of the Islamic world. Why would you side with Greater Israel? But many governments have. The Iranians don't need those governments, and they don't need weapons. Russia and China were never going to provide weapons once the balloon went up. Iran was always going to be responsible for its own self-defense, for its own military activities. And Iran has been preparing for more than 25 years. And look at how that preparation's paid off. All right, they know what they're doing. Donald Trump is in the middle of revising his plan because it didn't work. Iran's not in the middle of revising. All right, and look at how that preparation's paid off. All right, they know what they're doing. Donald Trump is in the middle of revising his plan because it didn't work. For more than 25 years. And look at how that preparation's paid off. All right, they know what they're doing. Donald Trump is in the middle of revising his plan because it didn't work. Donald Trump is military activities, and Iran has been preparing for more than 25 years. And look at how that preparation's paid off. All right, they know what they're doing. Donald Trump is in the middle of revising his plan because it didn't work. Iran's not revising its plan. Iran is just going forward. So I from the perspective of who's on top here right now, it's the Iranian plan that seems to be working. They don't need Russia to fly in support. They don't need China to fly in support. They're beating the United States. They're beating Israel, and they're beating the Gulf Arab states. They're beating the United States. They're beating Israel, and they're beating the Gulf Arab states. By and support. They're beating the United States. They're beating Israel, and they're beating the Gulf Arab states.
There's a report here about America. We've talked about the munitions, the stockpiles. running low, and they've been running low for a long time for the US. So there's a report here: America's considering pulling THAAD and Patriot batteries from South Korea to send to the Middle East. The systems protecting Seoul from North Korean missiles, potentially redeployed to intercept Iranian ones. And talks about how the 12-day war burnt through a lot of THAAD missiles. How significant is the stockpile issue? Trump did put out a post. You'd expect that every country would say the same thing. He put out a post saying we've got enough stockpiles across the world to continue this for as long as needed. But how significant are news like the report I just mentioned?
Well, first of all, the Trump post said we have enough ammunition, but he also conceded we don't have enough top-tier ammunition. And then he started blaming Joe Biden for this problem, saying that he gave it all away to Zelensky. So the weapons that are going to win this war are the top-tier weapons, especially from a defensive standpoint. Because the second we lose the ability to even have a cursory chance of preempting or interdicting Iranian missiles, it's over. Because then they'll just blow everything up and there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. And so, the warning of the generals and admirals is coming home to roost. They said, Mr. President, we have insufficient resources to complete this mission. And now the president is confronted with that on day three. On day three. And what's the result? They're going to strip away the defenses of South Korea and Japan. Now imagine if you're South Korea and Japan and you just...
South Korea are on the side of allied to the United States as opposed to North Korea. I just want to find some... This shows you that this truth is not given to people that spend X amount of years in a theological seminary. This is going to the regular guy on the street. We are the regular guy. We represent the regular guys on the street. Most High chose to give it to us, right? Let me go here. Bear me for a minute. I'm almost positive it's in the book of Matthew. I'll find out in a minute. Just bear with me. Okay, good. Make it easy for me. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, Psalms 8 and 2. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hath thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. We are those babes. Okay, this is what I wanted. Matthew 11, verse 25. At that time, the Messiah answered and said, I thank thee, O Father. Oh, right there it shows you that the Father and the Son is two different entities. This is the Lord thanking the Father. Yeah, but they're all one and the same. The Father was talking to the Son at the same time, and it's one person. That's a clone of the Father in the form of the Son. See how stupid that shit sounds? Oh, Father. At that time, the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord, superior of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, the scholars. The scholars are not telling you what's going on. Because if they knew what was going on, if they knew this is going to lead to Armageddon, the downfall of Babylon, they would be speaking about it. You would have videos up. No, that has nothing to do with America. All the wickedness that this motherfucker did through the years, they killed, I don't know how many, I don't know if it's millions. It's got to be millions. Gadites. The tribes south of Gad, pulling up, taking us from the early 1500s. Remember the black African slaves, so to speak, they started being taken over here to America, to the other side of the world, back in the early, when Christopher Columbus was still alive. Or right during the point in the early 1500s, you had West Africa slaves from West Africa going to the Dominican Republic. A lot of you Dominicans are really Judites. Judah, Benjamin, Levi. It says, and has revealed them unto what? Unto babes. Matthew 21, verse 16. And said unto him, hearest thou what these say? And the Messiah saith unto them, yeah. Have ye never read, out of the mouth of babes and sucklings thou hast perfected praise? So who's the babes and the sucklings? Us. We're the babes. The same thing, right? Luke 10 and 21. And the hour of in that hour Yahweh shall rejoice in spirit and said, O thank thee, O Father, Lord, or Kyries of heaven and earth, that thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, the scholars, the Bible scholars, the professors, the masters of the scriptures, the theological seminary professors. I don't give a damn how many degrees you got. DD, Doctor of Divinity. Jake don't know what's going on. They're not speaking about the end of the world. And has revealed them unto babes. We are the babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight. Here it is again. Romans 2 verse 20. An instructor of the foolish, because we were foolish at one time, a teacher of babes. So when we grow up, Isaiah, when we suck the breast of our mother and we are weaned, we therefore go out and teach. And we're doing what? We're inviting these people to suck the breast of our mothers. That's Song of Solomon. That was what Song of Solomon was all about. That you may suck the breast of my mother, meaning learn this truth. If I find thee without, I will kiss thee, right? I will take ye into my house, and I will feed thee spiced wine. The spiced wine represents this knowledge, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. And this is another beautiful one. 1 Corinthians 3 verse 1. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto, I couldn't go deep. Perfect example with these other camps. These two major camps, IUIC and IUCPK. When the grape thing came out, when Polite came up and asked about the grape thing, we didn't bite our tongue. We told them what it meant. And guess what? They all came against us. Why? Because they let emotions rule over them. So they said, there's something wrong with you guys. You like little girls. And just, they all got the black conscience, as deep as the black conscience community is supposed to be. Because back in Egypt, they took girls like that. They took them young. All them ancient civilizations, they took girls when they were 11, 12 years old, when they received puberty. So they're gonna get all emotional. So they're still babes. So what happened? They were choking on the meat. When that thing came out, who choked on the meat the most? Polite. But Polite wound up doing it. And that's why he's locked up to this day. The thing that he accused us of, he was found guilty of it. And he didn't even go to trial. He agreed to do the 7 years. Else he would have done probably 25 years. So he's done. He ain't coming back. Ain't nobody talking about him. Ain't nobody saying, well, let's have a moment of silence for Polite. Polite can't, but Polite is banished from anything that's black. It says, and when he comes out, nobody's going to listen to him. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual. I couldn't go deep with you, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in the Messiah. What does it mean by babes in the Messiah? Somebody comes into this new. It says, as newborn babes desiring the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. So you can't come into this thing for a year and a fallout. Like you got these men that broke off from the GMS Boston camp, led by the Darkton guy, I forget his name. They set up a page called Friend of Hamashiach, I believe it's called. And what happened to him was he was talking all kind of shit about the Boston camp. He was talking shit about us. And what finally happened to him? He got caught out there. He's a grown man. I guess he's in his 20s, 25 or whatever. He got caught out there in Boston having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl. And he went and he took pictures of the girl. So all the evidence was there. I think they gave him a plea deal. They said you do 10 years, but you know, if you go to trial, you get 25 or whatever the case may be. He got 10 years. So guess what? When the Most High got rid of him, that camp split up. They ain't out there no more. They might do a little video here and there, but in the next 6 months they're gonna be out of here, man. So the Most High is only dealing with the elect. This is what you niggas don't understand. The Most High is only dealing with the elect. Let me do this. 1 Corinthians. Give me a second here. I want to go to 1 Corinthians 1. I'm sorry, let me do this. This whole chapter is good. All right, let me start here. This whole chapter is good. A lot of information. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 18. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, or have the knowledge of slavery in Luke 1, it is the power of the Most High. So Jakes that come up against us, they think the way we're teaching it, that Esau is going to go into captivity, the white man descended from Esau, this, that, and the third, America's Babylon. They say we're crazy, we don't know what he's talking about. So these Jakes that come on TikTok, especially the women and the men, some of the punk ass men, well, the Lord came for everybody. He didn't come for just one nation. You, not the Israelites. They're all going to die over here. They're all going to take the chip and they're all going to die. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. The wise and the prudent represent the college educated, the professors, the top scholars of the earth, the elite of the earth. Well, we're going to make them look foolish because they don't understand that the fact that Nero 47 entered into this war led by Israel is going to lead them to the destruction. That's why the rabbis that talk to this guy Netanyahu has talks with these rabbis, this top rabbi, and they tell them what to do as far as prophecy is concerned. They really believe, trust me, they really believe that they're the people. They really believe that they're people, and they're not the people. They're not the people. Are some of them the Israelites? Yes, some of them are. Maybe anywhere from 5% to 25% in my estimation. We are the ones. You know who a prophet is by he goes into the prophet. GMS is a prophetic camp. GMS is a large company. Now we call them camps. Back then they call them companies. A company. We are a company of prophets. And what we do is we prophesy. That's why I don't call myself King Tahar or Prince Tahar, whatever. I call myself apostle, prophet, elder, whatever. The elders, that's what the scriptures say. It doesn't say bishops and generals. I'm not going to be a general. I'm not no general. I'm a prophet. If I keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm the prophet. It said foolishness of the world. Where is the wise? Let me read the 19th verse again. For it is, or did I read it? It said, for it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing and the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not the Most High made foolish the wisdom of this world? we are considered the foolish. We're looked at as fools. For 21st verse. For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High. It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching. That's why we do these videos. This is why we go on the highways and the byways. And you see what that did when we went on the highways and the byways, when we constantly do these videos? It stirred up these Christians to try. Now Christians are trying to go out on the highways and the byways. Now they're trying to figure out prophecies to their own destruction. Second Peter 3 verse 16, I think is the key point. Start at 15 verse. They wrestle with the scriptures, trying to figure the scriptures out. The Most High gave this to us. He gave it to the babes, the foolishness of this society. Right? It says not many noble, right? Give me a second. I went past that. Give me a second. Not many. Okay, let me do this. Noble. Is it in here? Noble. Okay, I write that in. I don't know why it didn't come out. Okay. So I'm sorry, you gotta keep reading. Gotta keep reading. This is what I wanted. I'm jumping the gun. For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the word by wisdom knew not the Most High. It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching, which we do, to save them that believe. To save them that believe, which are the elect. We're not trying to save all Israel, because the Lord's not coming for all Israel. He's only coming for the elect, which is a very small number. 144,000, and then you got the multitude behind them, which is the 1/3. It says, for the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. Now the 7 used to say the Greeks were talking about Europeans. No, the Greeks are talking about Israelites. Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites. That if you go to Acts 17, when Paul confronted the men of Athens, now they say, well, that showed you that they were white people because they were men of Athens. And we know that the Greeks, you had Jake. What made Greece great? Jake. What made anything great? What made the NBA great? Jake. What made the NFL great? Jake. What made boxing great? Jake. What made the UFC great? Jake. For the Jews require a sign and the Greeks seek after wisdom. The Greeks are Jakes that are educated. You gotta break this down to me. You gotta give me evidence, man. It says, but we preach the Messiah crucified unto the Jews a stumbling block. The Jews that didn't believe that the Messiah came. So this is a stumbling. Nah, that ain't the Messiah. Well, that's a stumbling block to you. And unto the Greeks, foolishness. The Greeks are Israelites. Going back to Athens, the men of Athens, Acts 17. What did they say? They said, what Babel, how did they say it? I'm not going to go to it. But it says, who is this babbler bringing a new doctrine? Those are your conscience community, and they're all screwed up. Them black conscience community guys, they're all fucked up and screwed up. Now, you know what shows you that we had the truth? Everybody was interested in going to the debates because the Israelites was going up against the Kemetic crowd. They don't know what's going on. And guess what? They're all going to take that chip. They're all going to take that chip. Sonetta going to take it. Shaka Moses is going to take it. They're all going to take it because they want to continue in society. So they're going to take it because there's no book. It's not written in the 42 negative confessions in the in these various different books. It's not written in the Gilgamesh epic. Epic. It's not written in that. It's not written in the Enuma Elish, if I'm saying it the right way. Which what's his name? Polite said that. He mentioned the Gilgamesh epic, which is bullshit. And they'll say, well, the Bible Moses stole that from the Gilgamesh epic, and Moses stole the laws from the 42 negative confessions. No, he didn't. It said, but unto them, that's why you don't talk to them. That's why you don't debate with them. That was merely entertainment. What Captain Zarek was doing, he liked he likes the spotlight. That's what he likes. He loves the spotlight. But unto them which are called, let me see how much he loves the spotlight when they make that chip mandatory. Let me look at that spotlight then. It said, but unto them, 24th verse, which are called, not only called, but chosen. Many brothers were called through the years, and many brothers fell out. Right? Because they were called, but they weren't chosen. Both Jews and Greeks. The Messiah, the power of the Most High, and the wisdom of the Most High, because the foolishness of the Most High is wiser than men, and the weakness of the Most High is stronger than men. For ye see your calling, brethren. Once you are called, you are then chosen. That's why you remain in this thing. He that endureth to the end. If you don't endure to the end, you were only called, you were not chosen. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, meaning college degrees, not many mighty. Mike Tyson ain't holding posts. Floyd Mayweather ain't holding posts. Jay-Z ain't holding posts. MJ, Michael Jackson, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Jesse Jackson, he wasn't holding posts. He didn't hold 12 Tribes Shine. Denzel ain't hold it up because they're not of the elect. Not many mighty, not many noble are called. This is why the scholars look at it sideways. Well, these guys, they haven't gone to the theological seminary. But the Most High have chosen the foolish things of the world. We represent the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Now they're watching this. Now they're saying, you know what, man? These Hebrew Israelites, these guys, hey, brother, they've been saying this for years, that there's going to be a war between, once America attacks Iran, Russia's going to get involved. And that's what all these guys, Scott Ritter's talking about and others, that Moabite professor, I did a video on him, Jang or whatever, he's saying, he said it, I believe it was back in November, he said Trump's going to be the president, Trump's going to declare war against Iran, and America's going to lose the war. And the whole view of the world is going to look at America differently. So he got that all right. He didn't get it because he read the scriptures. He got it because he knows things. But we've been saying that for years. We've been saying, keep your eyes on the Middle East. That's the hot spot. That's the valley of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat, Yahweh's judgment. And the Most High have chosen the weak things of the world. We're weak to confound the things which are mighty, which are established. And the base things, we are the base things of the world, and things which are despised, hated. We are hated. Have the Most High chosen. Remember a couple of verses up you read it about being called. Now you got the word chosen. You got to be called first, and then you got to be chosen. The guys that fall off were only called, but they were not chosen. That's why they turned it back on the plow and went back into the world. And all of you that came into this thing, that know about the chip, you're going to wind up taking the chip because the spirit ain't on you no more. You're going to know not to take the chip, but you're going to take it any goddamn way. And things which are not, to bring to naught things which are. We're set up to cast down imaginations, man. This bullshit. That no flesh should glory in his presence. Now I want to read one more. Let me do this. Second Corinthians 10. 2 Corinthians 10. And 4. Okay, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. Our weapons is what? Spiritual weapons. Evidence, facts, casting down imaginations, and everything, and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Messiah. Right? let's come on back to here.
Spent the last several years working in the United States.
So this man is a well sought after man, Scott Ritter.
To create this tripartite alliance that threatens North Korea with nuclear war. I mean, the United States is building a joint nuclear war planning capability with South Korea and Japan involved. And now, so they're sitting here saying, okay, we're going to sign up for this, but that's because we have the backing of the United States. The full force of the United States is behind us, but not anymore. Because the United States just decided that they're going to strip away the very defenses that are supposed to protect South Korea and Japan from North Korean missiles, strip them away and send them to the Middle East because
That's part of the Northern Army. He's going to have those allied nations. They're going to have what's called an Axis powers, like they did in World War II. I believe World War II wasn't World War One. Axis powers. Look that up. So they're going to join too. The NATO military, the military forces of NATO and the EU, they're going to send down their forces. So they're all going to get burnt up, including all the military forces that come out of America, from the north.
Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio didn't plan this properly. What signals is it send? Remember, read the National Security Strategy document.
Babylon is looking bad behind the scenes. But when you watch the regular news, they'll say good things. They won't say anything negative. They say that there's over 500 U.S. troops that's dead. They're not going to report that on the news. Do you think they're going to report that? That'll bring bring down the morale of the nation. So we're right. We there. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can see the finish line. If you ever ran track, and I used to run track, that tape is there. You see that tape, and when you hit that tape, you know you won.
Document that was promulgated by the Trump administration in November. They speak of that their goal is to have military overmatch with China in the South Chinese Sea. How can you have military overmatch if you're stripping all your weapons away and send them to the Middle East? We're conceding feet in the Pacific.
See, this man wasn't supposed to be the president because he's leading you into a pit. He's leading you to a cliff. That's all. And he doesn't see it. He doesn't see it. He thinks everything he does is the right decision, but that's going to lead you into the destruction. Armageddon, Valley of Jehoshaphat.
And what happens if China decides at this time, based upon American behavior, that they can't trust the United States? I mean, Trump.
They don't trust him any damn way. You think China trusts America? The U.S.? This man is erratic, man. You think Russia trusts America? Do you think Iran is going to sit down at the table because they're going to get stabbed in the back? What this man does is he gives you a series of truths, then he gives you a lie. So the whole world's waking up to this goddamn place. And we here at GMS and the other major camps, we know that this is Babylon the Great is America. We know that this man is the king of terrorists.
And President Xi are supposed to be meeting, and they're supposed to be talking. But, I mean, what is the track record here? Twice now, the United States has negotiated in bad faith with Iran, carrying out acts of perfidy, which is a war crime, just so people understand, to wave the white flag.
Remember, he took down Venezuela and arrested the president. We don't know what. They ain't said nothing about this guy in over a month. He just took the country over. He's got a puppet leader over there. That was an illegal war. And the whole world's watching. Like I've been saying, The whole world's watching. Anything that happens anything major that happens in the U.S., the U.S. catch a cold, the whole world catches the flu. And if anything America does, it affects the whole planet Earth.
Have a truce and then carry out surprise attacks using the truce as cover. Perfidy, a war crime, in addition to the illegal war of aggression that is taking place as well. But how could you ever trust the United States? Iran can't. They won't negotiate ever again with the United States because you can't trust us. We don't negotiate in good faith.
Didn't I just say that?
But now you're the Russians looking at Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, the same people who betrayed, Iran this time around.
You are not the problem. The problem is the stress loop he's stuck in. I blamed myself for months, thinking he wasn't attracted to me anymore. Turns out he just needed to upgrade to Blue Chew Gold. It targets the brain for arousal.
You have to totally reevaluate what Trump is doing. And again, there's a track record here. Donald Trump was in a phone conversation with Vladimir Putin on December 28th when 91 Ukrainian drones, guided by CIA intelligence, tried to kill President Putin while he was on the phone with President Trump. So now you're President Xi saying, gosh, he wants to enter into a series of negotiations. Do you understand now, China, that the United States doesn't negotiate in good faith? That whatever the United States does with negotiations is simply to buy time, to weaken you, to lull you into a false sense.
To buy time. They're not in your best interest.
See, while we do something behind your back, militarily. So this is spiraling out of control for the United States. There will be ramifications globally for the duplicity and the incompetence of the Trump regime.
So considering those circumstances, what do you expect Trump to do next? There's talks about this war lasting weeks, but if you take into consideration the depletion of the stockpiles, the Gulf nations, the Gulf nations are, I'm trying to really understand whether they're benefiting more or losing more, because their oil facilities are being struck, and the image they've created of being stable hubs for the wealthy around the world to get stability, to get prosperity, that's being shaken because of the strikes. But at the same time, their main rival, the Saudis' biggest rival, UAE's biggest rival, is getting significantly weakened by Israel and the US. So are the Gulf nations in a position where they are benefiting from this, and they benefit more from this war ongoing? And when it comes to Trump, is he going to be looking for an exit ramp, or he's stuck in a prolonged war at the moment?
Well, first of all, why do you think Iran is losing? Because bombs are blowing up? Because you see giant dust clouds? They're blowing up empty buildings. You do know that, right? You do know there's nothing in the buildings that are being struck. All of these buildings are legacy buildings that are linked to organizations that have been marked for destruction. But these organizations have left those buildings and are in other locations that are not being struck. So, I just want to remind people that
on this empty building, sorry, but on this.
And I still want to know if this guy, the supreme leader, is he still alive? That's, I want to hear it from the other side. You're only going to get one side of news on your cable, your CNNs and your Fox News. There's nobody watches that shit no more. They go to YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey to get the other side of the news. Moving on.
These empty buildings, if you look at the intelligence capabilities of Israel and the US, they've been able to hack into the the traffic cameras be able to monitor Khamenei according to a report since 2001 before striking him on day one of the operation. There's been talks about Khamenei being killed in the third week or fourth week of the operation, according to Trump. They killed him on day one. So I'd be surprised if Mossad and the CIA were not able to locate the right buildings to strike. And number two as well, that Israel made the claim, and obviously I don't believe the claim, but they made the claim that there's only 12 missile launchers left in Iran that they haven't struck yet, and Iran's running out of launchers as well.
Well, we'll find out. I remember, you forget maybe who you're talking to, a guy who has planned an operation, an intelligence officer who has worked with Israel and the CIA on an intimate level, in war and in other than war. I know these people very, very well. I was doing battle damage assessment during Desert Storm when we were trying to track down and kill Iraqi Scud launchers. And I remember that we had assessed that there were 19 mobile launchers in the Iraqi inventory before the war. We were pretty much right. By the end of week one, we had killed 64 of those launchers. Now, Mario, you're smart enough to know that that doesn't work, does it? If you have 19 and you've killed 64, then why are the Iraqis still firing missiles into Saudi Arabia and Israel? It means that the battle damage assessment is wrong. I've also worked with the Israelis, and I understand that they exaggerate greatly, just like everybody else. So, I mean, if
the
Israel,
American news, the mainstream news, what did you call it? What do you call it? Mainstream news. They'll give you one half of their half of the story, their part of the story, not the full story.
believes they only have a handful of 12 launchers left, so be it. Then congratulations, Israel, you just won the war. But the last time I checked, more than 12 missiles were launched at once against Israel. So right off the bat, their logic is fundamentally flawed. And remember, while they're launching against Israel, they're also launching against...
Okay, let me do this. Just seeing everything. Hey, you miss a minute, you miss a lot. Colonel Larry Wilkinson, U.S. warplanes downed, Tel Aviv and U.S. bases rocked by missiles. Now they were asking, the U.S. was asking for a sit-down, a ceasefire. Iran doesn't want it because you killed the equivalent of the Pope a couple of days ago. You got to understand, this thing happened on the 28th, which is a Saturday. So it's Tuesday. So we got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 days. We're going into the third. We're not even to the fourth day of this war, and it's getting hotter and hotter. You're not going to be able to pull yourself out of this.
The Gulf Arab states and American military count the missiles flying and tell me there's only 12 left in terms of launchers. The Israelis are just blowing smoke. This is what they do. Propagandas, just like the United States does, just like Iraq does, or Iran does. I mean, Iran is out there talking about, sinking the carrier and doing this and killing 500 people. That didn't happen. This is what nations do. They exaggerate their capabilities as part of bolstering.
Do you think Iran can strike a carrier or even sink a carrier? Do they have the capacity based on what you're seeing right now? Or the defenses are just too extensive? The different layered defenses cannot be penetrated by Iran?
Hopefully we'll never find out. Iran has tested it. You don't sink the carrier until you sink the carrier. We know they've launched an attack against the carrier, and so far the carrier's defenses have worked. Defenses work until they don't work. So we'll see.
How about their sea drones? Are sea drones? Do the carriers have the capacity technologically to intercept sea drones as well?
Yes. The United States is not an incompetent military, and we have been preparing for, war for some time. A carrier,
okay, so this is in
aircraft carriers.
Turkey generals join Iran, Russia, China. Remember, Turkey is a NATO nation. Member of the NATO. So that's your breaking up of the NATO nations. If Turkey possesses long-range missiles, Turkey will shoot their missiles on America. If they don't, they'll shoot at America's interests. But this is a NATO nation joining with who? Iran, Russia, and China. When you talk about Iran and the war, you got to, in the back of your mind is Russia and China. These are all allied with each other. If they stopped and read the scriptures, they would tell Trump, pull it back. You should have never did it in the first place. So he didn't. The scriptures speak about counsel. When you go to war,
one of the most expensive assets we have, and we've spent a lot of money to protect it. And so,
if you look at Russia's fleet in the Black Sea and how the Ukrainian success in targeting that fleet, that's why I think that Iranian sea drones is probably their best bet in terms of causing damage for the U.S. based on what Ukraine did to Russia.
Yeah, the Black Sea is sort of a closed environment.
Give me a second here. Give me a second. This is the cheat sheet. When you go to war against 10,000, Bible. Give it a second. Okay, I believe this is it. Let me go ahead, King's War. Okay, let me open this up. Luke 14:31.
To the Bible, 31 if a king goes out with 10,000 men to fight another king.
Just open it up so I can read it. Go right to the King James. Or what king going to war to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000. So Nero went into war. He declared war without sitting down and counseling. He figured we're going to bomb them. They're going to sit down at the negotiation table and we'll be good to go. And that's the end of the war. They're saying no. The U.S. is asking, I got to go more into it, but the U.S. is asking for a ceasefire to negotiate. They don't want to negotiate. They killed their version of the Pope. So when you go to war, you got to have counsel. This is amateur night. But that's good. Most High's leading them.
You know, the Abraham Lincoln sort of in the open sea. I think it's you're comparing apples and oranges here. So I don't.
And what makes them do what they do? They've been on top for so long that pride makes it where you're not gonna lose. And they really believe the U.S. the president. They really believe that God is with him because they believe God is a so-called white man. The angels are white. Jesus is white. Jesus and God is not going to let us down because we look just like God. God looks like us, or whatever the case may be. They're not straight in the head.
I don't
And then
see.
and American capabilities are, you might disagree, but technologically speaking, more capable than the Russian naval fleet.
Frustrated with the way you currently file your taxes? What if you could track your tax expert's progress and...
I don't know. The Russians still launch caliber missiles from their ships that strike Ukraine on a near daily basis. So the idea that the Russian fleet has been somehow neutralized is absurd in the extreme. Russia is going up against a NATO-equipped, NATO-style force, and Russia has suffered casualties, as one would expect. But the idea that Ukraine owns the Black Sea is mooted by the fact that the Russians still launch caliber missiles from their ships in the Black Sea that are devastating Ukraine's energy infrastructure, missile defense systems, etc. So again, I think we're just comparing apples and oranges here. We're talking about strikes carried out by Ukraine in a very well-defined battle space, and we're talking about Iran trying to strike a carrier battle group in the open sea. Two different scenarios.
And going back to the original question of Trump and the Gulf nations, long term, can the Gulf nations sustain this with the strikes on the oil and gas infrastructure? They've intercepted over 90% of the missiles and drones.
No.
And Trump, okay, the Gulf nations.
And don't forget, they've been talking about sleeper cells. So you don't know what's going on in the U.S. You got every nation in the U.S. in America. This is hot. He got into something that he can't pull his ass out. He's signing checks that he can't cash. He really fucked up, and they sat there and allowed this retard to do it.
It's just cannot. So then you'd expect the Gulf nations to either join the war or pressure Trump to end it. Which one do you think would be?
And I think in the end they're going to pressure Trump to end it, because what can the Gulf nations bring to the forefront? It's just a standard question. I don't mean to be insulting to these people, but they have nothing. Again, Saudi Arabia couldn't defeat Ansarallah since 2014. Couldn't defeat Ansarallah. And so now the vaunted Saudi Arabian Air Force is suddenly going to be the straw that breaks the Iranian camel's back. The United Arab Emirates has also been involved in taking on Ansarallah unsuccessfully. Couldn't win, had to withdraw. And now suddenly the UAE is going to be that factor which puts America and Israel over the top. These nations have no real capacity against a real enemy. Whatever they do to Iran will be paid back tenfold. In Iran has a plan. Ask me what the Saudi Arabian war plan against Iran is right now. They don't have one. They are working with the United States to find out if there's a way they can make a face-saving gesture, sort of a token strike to say we did something. But if they do that, Iran will simply up it up because Iran has a plan. Iran has resources allocated to the punishment of Saudi Arabia. And I think people need to understand that the Iranians probably have regime change components in these plans. I know they have one in Bahrain. I would be surprised if the Khalifa family survives this crisis. Right now we have Saudi Arabian and Gulf states, emergency forces in Bahrain trying to stabilize the situation. you may not be able to
the
stabilize
Northern
them.
Army.
And if Bahrain falls, eastern Saudi Arabia comes at risk. And when Saudi Arabia starts diverting resources,
Nero opened up a Pandora's box. Nero definitely opened up a Pandora's box. You know, he hit the proverbial hornet's nest, and now he's running from the hornets. He made a major mistake, but this is part of the plans of the Most High. Man's goings of the Lord, right? In a dream, in a vision of night, he sealeth their instructions. So, you know, Trump is not crazy. He's just doing what the Lord put in his mind to do. The Lord is working with Netanyahu and Trump and Nero. But like I said, the destruction of Babylon is not going to come until everything calms down. It might be a long ground war. Look that up. Conventional war. For the next year, next 6 months. The chip is going to come in there. We don't know how it's going to come, but we know one thing. We know Babylon is not going to be destroyed based upon this current war that they're involved in. Everything got to calm down. Everybody got to get chipped. And then once everything gets chipped, the next time they go into Iran, Russia get involved. We'll see how it works out. It's going to work out See, when you understand prophecy, you can see things. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but ultimately we know how it's going to play out. It's going to play out with America being just totally destroyed and Israel being totally destroyed and built back up.
to deal with Eastern Saudi Arabia. Ask the Saudis how they feel about Ansarallah's ability to threaten the southern territories of Saudi Arabia. Because if Saudi Arabia strips away their defenses down there to deal with an uprising in the eastern provinces, Ansarallah will take over the southern provinces, which used to be part of Yemen. So, Saudi Arabia is at real risk here. There's no strength on the side of the Saudis right now. Their economy will collapse, and they are completely dependent upon their ability to bring energy to market. And when you deny them that ability, and then you combine it with Ansarallah and the Iranians carrying out what it is, in effect, a regime change operation, this Al-Assad family may not be long for power as well. And I would say that every ruling family in the Middle East is at risk here, because all of their legitimacy comes from the facade they had created of wealth, of prosperity, and security. And the Iranian plan right now is stripping away that facade. They're not secure. There's nothing anybody can do to defend them. The United Arab Emirates spent $2 billion buying air defense systems that aren't doing the job, and they're running out of them. And the United States is not running to replace them, because the United States has to replace them for Israel. Think about that for a second. If you're...
I just wanted to read this real quick, put it out there. It said, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity." This goes hand in hand with Revelation 18, verse 4. "For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." Payback. Recompense means payback. Payback is a bitch. "Babylon," America, have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the nations drunken. That's Revelation 17, the first 4 or 5 verses. "The nations have drunken of her wine, her philosophies, her policies. Therefore the nations are mad." They're mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. That's from the missiles. How for her take balm for her pain, if so be she be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone, into his own country. They're going to abandon Babylon. They're going to abandon America. They're going to abandon Nero. For her judgments reacheth unto heaven, Revelation 18:4, and is lifted up even to the skies. Got to read the next verse. Yahweh have brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields, for the Yahweh have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. That represents Russia. That's also in Isaiah 13. For his device is against Babylon, America, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, America. Make the watch strong. We are making the watch strong. Isaiah 62:6. Set up the watchmen. We are the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes for Yahweh. Have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. O thou that dwelleth upon many waters, Revelation 17, abundant in treasures. We the richest country on the planet. Thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Yahweh of hosts has sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars. Caterpillars represent, when you look that up, as locusts. And represents, when locusts come, they come in thousands in swarms. That's why you can't defeat them. And they shall lift up a shout against thee, against Babylon. All these surrounding nations are going to hate this place. He that hath the earth by his power, he have established the world by his wisdom, and have stretched out the heaven by his understanding. So, I mean, this is a beautiful chapter. I had to read into it. But the main thing is right here, 7th verse, Jeremiah 51. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, her philosophies, her policies. Therefore the nations are mad. Let me go to Revelation 17 right quick. Revelation 17. It's going to say the same thing in different words in Revelation 17. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, their policies. That's why there's certain countries that allow you can be a transgender, you can dress up a woman, you can have homosexual relations. In certain African countries, the U.S. is trying to have African nations like Uganda, for example. But those other nations, West Africans, they don't like Moors, and they'll kill Moors. They'll either lock them up or they'll kill them. So you had Kamala Harris go over there with a checkbook trying to say, okay, we're going to give you X amount of money, but you got to pass laws to protect Moors. And they said, no, we ain't with that, because they're Israelites. It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk, same language as Jeremiah 51, with the wine of her fornication. And part of that too is the mark of the beast. Because they're going to pass laws all around the world. If you want to deal with the SWIFT system, if you want to deal with any money system, you're going to have to switch over to a digital system, and then you're going to have to get the chip. Because they're planning on making the world dollar, and the central bank is going to come out of London. That's the financial, what do you call it, city-state. You have 3 city-states. The religious, which is Vatican City. That's a city-state. D.C., Langley, Virginia. That's a city-state. That's where the military comes from. That's why the U.S. always goes in the forefront. The economic part is who? London, England. That's where the Rothschilds are located. And the super elite banking families. I beheld, Revelation 16, I beheld 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, London. Out of the mouth, dragon is interchangeable with the beast. Also in the beast of 2,000 years ago. It tells you it refers to the dragon in Revelation 12, which we know that's the Roman Empire. The dragon right now is talking about London, the city-state of London. Out of the mouth of the dragon, the beast represents the Pentagon and D.C. itself. And the false prophet represents Vatican City. Every form of Christian, all Christians are what? Reformed Catholics. Vocab Malone is a Reformed Catholic. That's why he believes in the virgin birth and the Immaculate Conception. You know? So anyway, let's come back over here. Let's watch a little bit more.
Emirati. You're supposed to be the great ally of the United States.
Okay, somebody got Scott Ritter, Alex Jones, 2028. Alex Jones is he's controlled opposition. I don't even watch him. I hardly even watch him anymore. He says a lot of good things. I'll give him credit. He says a lot of good things still, but he's controlled opposition. That's why they didn't take the studio. Remember when he lost billions of dollars? That was 2 years ago? Oh, they're gonna take the studio any minute now. They ain't took the studio because you made a backdoor deal. See, you got to be careful when you're talking to people. There's certain people that'll follow you no matter what you say, and there's certain people that see how you shifted. Wait a minute, you didn't say that a year ago. No, you sound a little bit different. Then you come to the realization that you control opposition, and that's why we knew that Hassan Nakkar definitely sold out, because they did what's called a 180-degree turn. They made it obvious that they sold the fuck out.
But in your moment of need, the United States is ignoring you and giving the systems to Israel. That means Israel is more important to the United States than the Gulf Arab states. And that's a point that Iran has been making over and over again. And then you overlay that, the fact that the wealth that was generated by the production of energy is not going to be generated now because they can't get it to market. Moreover, the infrastructure itself is going to be targeted and destroyed. That's the end of them. So all of the Gulf Arab states now are at risk. And I think this is the reality. I think what you're going to see is when Iran completes the destruction of the American military infrastructure in the Middle East,
that right there is the training that I'm doing inside of a CrossFit gym of all.
And attacks embassies, forcing America to close embassies. The conditions of conflict termination will be that the United States leaves the Middle East. And Donald Trump is going to have no choice but to embrace
You know what I'm going to do? Let me look at this. Iran, China, Russia, World Order, Turkey, India, Brazil, and Indonesia. You have the ultra world order military technology and economic. Okay, good post right there. Iran, China, Russia, world order, Turkey, India, Brazil, and Indonesia. You have the ultra world order military technology and economic.
Because we lack the capacity. It's laughable to hear Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and Donald Trump talk about boots on the ground.
Well, that's if it's a conventional war, that's going to go. That's going to go to the next year. They're talking about all we need to do is be in there for 4 weeks, a month at the most. This thing is going to go for the rest of the year. like I said, they may have a ground war, a continued ground war. Look that word up, look that term up, ground war. And in the midst of that ground war, they're going to get their chips. Those people that are over there, the U.S. military that's fighting over there, they're going to have chipping stations. They're going to chip them. So they're going to be fighting their wars. One day they're going to be without the chip. The next day they're going to be with the chip. And then they're going to move them down into the base. I see the base being the Northern Army in a barren, desolate place, which is in between they're going to be facing Kuwait. I can see the map in my head. When I go to the ancient map, I can picture the map in my head. I've looked at the map so many times, what they call a Levant. I can see the Euphrates. I can see the Euphrates. I can see the Tigris, which is northeast of the Euphrates. I can see that barren land, which is called the ancient world. They call it Havilah. I can see the Red Sea. I can see the Gulf of Suez, the Gulf of Akbar, and I can see the Nile River. Then when you go north of that, that's when you got Palestine. Ultimately, you hit Jerusalem. You hit those cities. You know, you hit the Dead Sea. You hit the Mediterranean. That picture's in my head. Like you can see a U.S. map, I can see the Middle Eastern map in my head. It's already in my head. Now, when it says in Isaiah 13, it speaks about the Medes. It's also in Jeremiah. It speaks about the Medes. Why do I say it's the Russians? Because Isaiah, when he saw missiles coming, he saw missiles coming from the northeast, and you have the Medes, and beyond the Medes, you have no man's land. So he saw the land of the Medes. That's why he said it was the Medes. It really wasn't the Medes. It was beyond the Medes. There was no such thing as Russia. Russia didn't come along as of yet. And that was partially started by the Scythians, which are Jake. So, hey, we got the 100% truth. Babylon the Great is not going to be utterly destroyed by fire, nuclear destruction, unless and until the majority of the planet Earth, 95 to 98% of the people on the planet Earth, get microchipped. Then everything's going to move in fast motion.
I was involved in the movement of hundreds of thousands of boots on the ground in Desert Storm. And I'm going to tell you right now, the conditions today aren't even close to what the conditions were back then. First of all, we don't have the troops. We don't have pre-positioned equipment in the stockpiles. We don't have equipment afloat. We have to.
I never ran into this guy, Scott. I know his face, so if he comes by the camp, we know any of y'all camps, I'll talk to him and I'll tell him, I'll give him the perspective. I'll filter everything that he says right through the scriptures, which he doesn't understand. He doesn't know that America's Babylon. He doesn't know that Babylon the Great is going to be utterly destroyed. He doesn't know that we're going to take the world, the so-called black man and the Native American Indian and the Indian indigenous man of North, Central, and South America, and going to take over the whole world. He doesn't know that.
Get everything out of the United States. It takes the United States Army 6 months to prepare a heavy armored brigade for deployment to NATO as part of the security force in Poland.
See, this guy right here, Captain Zariak, he doesn't understand what he's involved in. He's having a sit down with Tony Havens, which this guy is a Christian, and Tony Havens and his panel of Christians, they don't believe anything and he's been dealing with this guy for I guess a number of years, and he has sit downs with him, and he's teaching people that is not going to accept it, man. The scriptures say, "Cast not thy pearl before swine, neither give that which is holy unto the dogs, for they will come along and." Paraphrasing, they will stamp on the residue of the truth, then they will come after you. So every week or every month he gets with this panel, and they're always trying to stump Captain Zariak, and they're not coming to the fact that they're Israelites. So it's a complete waste of fucking time, because Captain Zariak don't know what's really going on. He knows a lot of things, but the biggest mistake Captain Zariak made, that's the title right there. The biggest mistake Captain Zariak made was joining the ISUBK and not joining the GMS. But he loves it. He loves the limelight. You see that big smile on his face? He loves it. He loves it. Anyway. So if you're watching this, Captain, you know you don't have 100% truth. Your eye is not single. Matthew 6, verse 22. So your whole body's not full of light.
In the Balkan, 6 months to prepare. And that means they have to upload, take it down the rail, load it on the ships. And that's based upon pre-planned activity, meaning it was known.
And that's talking about a ground war. So you're talking, okay, it's March, beginning of March the 3rd, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So we're talking about September, they'll be there. If you're gonna call for a ground war in the Middle East, and that's what they're ultimately gonna do. They're gonna wind up in the south of the Levant. They're gonna be facing Kuwait. Desert Storm. The U.S. military during the Bush administration, the U.S. military went to that same place. That's they were based at in the Havilah, because they were protecting Kuwait because Iraq was going to invade Kuwait, and they needed help from the United States. So where did they base up at? They based up right where they're getting ready to base up again, pursuant to Joel 2, verse 20. See how everything comes together?
Now we're talking about taking military resources and sending them to the Middle East. Where's the shipping going to come from? Have we found the shipping? Do we have the shipping? Once we get the
and U.S. forces they're not used to going to war. The Middle East, they're used to going to war. They're used to hearing gunshots. They used to hearing explosions. They used to it, man. You know? The Russians, they built for war. They built for war. That's why in fighting, Jake fight a Russian, most of the time, half of the time, the Russian gonna win. They got a special training regiment. They're super athletes. I'm talking about these Edomites. This guy, Alexander, what's his name? Alexander Usyk. I'm gonna make a statement. I said this before. That man will be able to beat George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Frazier on the same night. That's a super dude, man. He was a cruiserweight that dominated, cleaned out the cruiserweight division. Then he went up in the heavyweight, and he's a small heavyweight. A small heavyweight today was considered a big heavyweight back then. A small heavyweight today was bigger than George Foreman. George Foreman was considered a big heavyweight. He was only 124 pounds, 6'4". That's considered a small heavyweight. You got these super heavyweights now that are 250. This guy, Alexander Usyk, he comes in at about 230 pounds. He's fighting guys 250 plus, bigger and stronger than him, and he knocks him out. He doesn't just outbox him. He outboxes him, then he knocks him out. Them motherfuckers are supermen, man. And they love war. They into war. Places like Dagestan. Where does this guy? However you ever say his name. He's a UFC guy. He beat McGregor. Where they from is Dagestan. I believe it's Dagestan, Chechenian. Them people, what they do when they catch a Mo, you know what they do? They torture the Mo, then they kill it. And they ask the government to come say we can't do that. The Russian government don't mess with them because they don't like Mo's any goddamn way. But over here you can be a Mo. So if you're gonna call for a draft, good luck, because you're gonna get a lot of people that are scared going over there to the Middle East. So Nero got you in this fine mess that he can't get you out of. There's one thing you can do to change this thing, but you can't, because it's already in the books. It's already prophecy. You're gonna go to the Middle East. You're gonna empty America of the 4 branches of the military. You're gonna go to the Middle East, and you're not gonna come back. So if you got uncles and cousins and nephews, brothers and sisters and nephews that's in the military, and they go all over there, they ain't coming back. They ain't coming back. And the whole world's going to see it. The downfall of Babylon. That's what Revelation 18 is all about. Part of Revelation 18 of the latter verses say they're going to see from afar off. It's going to be breaking news around the whole planet. America is completely done.
Shipping. How are we going to protect it? Where are they going to offload? At what port? Because the last time
the perfect place to off port it is Havilah.
checked, every port in the region is under threat from Iran. What airfield are we going to land the troops at? Because again, every airfield is under threat. And once they're on the ground, what's going to protect them?
You notice how they were attacking airports too, so people don't get out or people don't come in.
From Iranian missiles,
So it's getting hot, man. It's getting hot. All you fucking women that didn't give us a play, you pretty women out there, you gonna come to the Jake man. You're gonna come to the Israelite man. You're gonna come to the man that has this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to stabilize you. A lot of people are gonna bug out, especially when you got to get that chip. And we're gonna be speaking about that. That's gonna be an ongoing topic. How Jake is getting the chip. We might even go out and interview people that's gonna get the chip. And I say the chip thing is months away. So all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. And don't listen to Bishop Nate. Bishop Nate is saying Yahweh is the son of the Most High. So he doesn't know who the Heavenly Father is. But he knows that Yahweh Shai is really Yahweh. That's a sign of a sellout. And he did that over this weekend. Watch the video that he did, the live that he did over the weekend. And I did a video on it, man. He kept saying Yahweh. He said, you got to say it like this, Yahweh. And he said, that's the son of the Most High. And he didn't tell you what the name of the Father is. He did the same thing that Tazadakia is doing. We're taking away the name. And these zombies are blindly listening to him, right? Now we're gonna find out who all the sellouts are. We're gonna find out which one of you guys sold out. The truth is gonna come out. The truth is gonna be manifest when the mark comes out. We're gonna see what you Jakes are gonna do. A lot of you gonna get shooken up. That's the main prophecy that's gonna take place before this destruction take place.
Hammering them while they try to organize for an attack. We're going to have to do an assault into an Iranian city, a port city, Chabahar or Bandar Abbas, and we don't have the capacity to do that. And even if we did, it would take us months, 8-9 months to get ready for something like that. So we simply, this talk of boots on the ground, no, this war is going to be fought with the resources that we currently have, and those resources are insufficient to the task.
I cannot disagree, and I understand the US and Israel is not in a good position. Again, back to the discussion of the stockpiles and also the Gulf nations facing the daily strikes. And now Hezbollah as well entering the war to stretch Israel even thinner. But at the same time, what I'm trying to figure out is how, I know I've asked the question already, but I just don't see how Iran is also capable to sustain this. They're finally the most powerful military in the world. Ukraine would not be able to sustain Russia without NATO support.
I have a 134 IQ. I make less money than friends who barely passed high school. Here's what I finally decided.
But there's no NATO supporting Iran. Now, I understand Iran is already, some people.
Yeah, so anyway, Shalom. I know I went long. Please forgive me. Shalom. On to the next Shalom.